education what we came for? Do you wanna know what's fair with early child care? That you leave the McDonald's show. That you leave the McDonald's show. We got it. That you leave the McDonald's show. We going live in a rap for giving child care pros a platform. Every child wins when your heart's warm.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to a special broadcast of the Jalitha McDonald Show, where we discuss everything childcare and provide a platform for early educators to shine, share resources, special events, accomplishments in early care and education news and hot topics. And today we have a very hot topic. But before we get to that, I just want to introduce myself. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Jalitha McDonald. I am an early childhood specialist and business consultant and the host of the Jalitha McDonald Show. I'm also the founder and CEO of Arlington DFW Childcare Professionals, located in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I am the proud owner of Nurturing Gifts Infant and Toddler Center. You see my center in the background. So that is my first love. But my love is to share information with my colleagues from across the state about what's going on in the childcare world. But today we have a very special guest. Our guest today is Mary Beth Tessa. Mary Beth Tessa brings nearly 20 years of experience in team building, advocacy, and policy development, and a depth knowledge of childcare legislation and regulations, and expertise in connecting policy and practice, and a special focus on family childcare. Yay! So Mary Beth has led advocacy campaigns across the United States, and at federal levels, representing and building coalitions with childcare providers, childcare resource and referral agencies, home visiting programs, and the Children's Defense Fund. Clients include local, state, and national organizations. Thank you, Mary Beth, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thanks for coming. And so today, you guys, we're talking about the bills that have passed last night in the House, right? This is very, very exciting news, especially for the early care and education realm. And so childcare providers are at the forefront of the nation's response to COVID-19 pandemic, yet have been amongst the hardest hit in this sector. The Child Care Essential Act will provide grant funding to childcare providers to stabilize the childcare sector and support providers to safely reopen and operate. The House passed 2 bills aimed at easing the financial burden for childcare aimed at the coronavirus pandemic. And so with that being said, the first act that was passed is the Child Care is Essential Act. And so we're going to kind of give you just a definition or what that is. So Mary Beth, the expert in this, okay? What is?
It's been a big week. It's been a big week, and I sure hope that my family childcare friends and friends centers to feel that the House of Representatives really stood up for them this week. Let's talk about what happened. So The Child Care is Essential Act got introduced in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. If we remember sort of how a bill becomes a law, we first have a great idea, and then we get that idea written down into a bill. And some strong and brave leaders in the Senate and the House say, you know what, I'll stand up for that. I'll put my name on that. And that's how these things move forward. And the reality of your world right now in family childcare and in centers, and the realities for families right now meant that they could no longer just sit and let that bill be a piece of paper. It was time. It was time to talk about it. And so they talked about it throughout the afternoon yesterday on the House floor, and then they took that vote. And last night, the Child Care is Essential Act passed. 249 members of the House of Representatives said yes to that piece of legislation, saying $50 billion is what our industry needs, and it needs it now. So bill works in a different kind of way. If we think about the Child Care and Development Block Grant, if we think about even the way the CARES Act money went in at the end of March,
yeah,
of a child care law. This is sort of a new way of thinking about it, although certainly tied to the law that we have. We'll talk more about that in a second.
okay.
What advocates and the field helped Congress to understand is that what we need is a stabilization fund. You need cash now to do your work and to survive this time. This is a survival bill for our field, as you shoulder all of this worry and all of this pressure. It calls for $50 billion right away.
Yes.
For states to set up a stabilization fund.
Okay.
And there's a piece of it that I actually really like. I think this is really important for our field. Some of that money, 10% of that 50 billion, would be used by the states to make sure the stabilization fund goes well. Make sure you know about it. Make sure you can access it. Make sure you can apply. And for my family child care friends who have sat through application after application and all of this documentation and all of this worry about what you're qualified for, there is some intention in the Child Care is Essential Act to make sure it's going to work. And so I'm excited about that too. Those processes matter. But the big chunk of the money is an investment directly in you.
Okay.
In providers who have been open as of March 1st.
Okay.
So maybe not a brand new provider who just opened this July, but if you've been providing services, if you have been open and available, or if you were closed due to COVID, you have to be you, and that makes you qualified for this stabilization fund. And the bill also outlines the ways you can use those funds, including paying yourself, including paying some of the back bills that have accrued during the crisis, whether you were open or closed, including making some of the changes, maybe changes to your enrollment. You had to make group size smaller, maybe some of the new supplies that you have to get. Again, paying you. This is going to be money to sustain you. Not forever. It doesn't seek to be forever. In fact, and our analyst friends here in DC are pretty sure it's only going to last 5 months. This is a survival now investment in you, in keeping you strong. I'm very excited.
So would you say this is kind of like a bailout for childcare, the childcare industry?
You got it. Yeah.
Yes. So yes, this is wonderful. This is wonderful news, and it's wonderful that the House passed it, and it passed on like both sides basically. Republicans and Democrats voted for this bill, right?
Sorry, so it has not passed both sides yet, and that's the kicker. What I
meant to say is Republicans and Democrats voted.
Sorry, those kinds of sides. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes.
Last night with bipartisan support. Of those 249 representatives who said yes, I think 18 of them were Republicans. They saw you, they heard you, and they knew it was time. You did that. Mm-hmm. Every call you made, every email you sent, every story you told, you did that. Mm-hmm. You should believe that because it's true.
Yes. So that is the Child Care is Essential Act. So what is the Child Care for Economic Recovery Act? What is that?
Well, they were really on a roll last night. They decided to pass that one too. The Child Care for Economic Recovery Act handles sort of a different side of our policy that affects us. And that's a much bigger package. So keep in mind the $50 billion in child care is essential. We're going to come back to that. This was $179 billion, some of which to be spent over time, including, you might be familiar with, our friends listening might be familiar with the dependent care tax credit, which is something that parents can use to offset some of their child care expenses, except the numbers in it, the rules in it, go back pretty far. They don't reflect life now. It doesn't go far enough to really affect your choices, affect a parent to be able to really choose the program that works best for them. and honors what they need. So what this bill does is says we're going to expand that and make it more meaningful to you, and we're going to make it fully refundable, which means that families at lower incomes will actually be able to benefit from it too. It's a tool that we've had for many years, but too few families actually benefit from it. And there's a piece in there for the Child Care and Development Block Grant, $10 billion in the first year, and then money for the next 5 years. So more of that foundational piece. I think we're trying to do a bunch of things at the same time, right? We need to think better, think differently about how we invest in childcare and how we make this available to families in this country and how we support you and center you in that. But we've also got some right now urgencies to deal with. And so last night, the House of Representatives, I think, tackled both things.
So you said something, you said the Child Care Block Grant. So what is that? Because there's so many different pieces and components. So each state already have the Child Care Block Grant. So what I want you to do is tell the listeners, the providers who are on this call, how would the money be funded? Where does that money go, right? So could you explain that?
Absolutely. So in the Child Care is Essential Act, the money would go to what's called the lead agency. So the agency that handles your child care investment now, and every state chooses who that is. And so like, if you want to know who yours is and you want to post that in the comments now, we can try to field some of that. But whoever, and generally it's whoever handles the subsidy program. And maybe they also handle licensing. That looks different in every state too. But the money would be invested in the same way. That agency would take the lead on distributing those funds. And so we can think about what are the choices we would want our state agency to make this successful, to help providers apply. But I also can't emphasize enough, we can't have this at all until the U.S. Senate chooses to do the right thing.
Right. So
and that's on a different page.
What you say? I'm sorry.
The Senate is currently on a different page. That's the other thing that happened this week.
Yes. So my next question was, why are these bills so important? You already answered that a little bit, but why? So like, I would say the bailout is so important because so many providers, our practitioners, business owners from across the country have been really struggling. I mean, we've been just hanging in there and finding like just different ways to stay sustainable. But and some of us have closed, right? And then now we have increased costs. We have to get PPE. We have to get extra sanitation items. We have to get extra supplies and different things, extra training for our staff, and just extra training for our parents and guidance. So this is why it's so important. So can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
I mean, I think you just did. That's exactly why. That's exactly why, and more. Right? We are seeing clearly, and
we deserve it.
You deserve it. You are the backbone of our communities. Parents cannot go to work without childcare. Parents also deserve the childcare arrangement that works for them, and we need to honor where they want to be and honor those relationships. This is also not just about slots and numbers. Well, if she closed, we can send those kids over there, here, and here. That's not how that works. You choose families for a reason. Families choose you for a reason. We need you to be here for them. We're seeing in the news that this is going to set our economy back a generation. This is going to send working women back decades. This is going to be seen and felt. This COVID crisis is going to be seen and felt in so many ways for so many years, but it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And our members of Congress who stepped forward to introduce these bills and stepped forward to vote yes, understand that.
Yes, and I have a question. So this includes all childcare sectors? So like especially family childcare, right? So we're in this bill, these bills, right?
You are named in it. Yes.
We are. So, and I just want to thank you and everyone else who is an advocate for family child care, making sure that we are embedded in that bill as well, because oftentimes we do get left out. But how about nonprofit centers? Are nonprofit centers included in this as well? Because I have a lot of friends, especially in the Dallas area, Dallas and Fort Worth area, who run high quality nonprofit centers. So, and sometimes the grants are what I'm trying to say. Grants are assistance that were out. They weren't qualified for because they were a nonprofit center, but however, they took care of children.
Yes. A lot of the different ideas that have come out in the last 5 months, maybe they were for some of you and not others, or in some of our states with the CARES Act money, some states figured out how to support the providers that were open, even if they didn't serve any families who paid with a subsidy. That private pay market, that out-of-pocket market got supported in some states, but not others. That's a challenge, right? The tool we have to send money out the agency door is the child care law through the subsidy program, but most of our field doesn't currently serve families who pay with a subsidy for a host of reasons. And we could do a whole other meeting about those reasons and do some really good listening to our friends about what their reasons are. But suffice it to say, if you're serving all out-of-pocket families, you still need help. You've still been shouldering this burden, shouldering this worry, doing all of this extra work while everyone paid attention elsewhere. Yes,
I think that would be really important, because here in Dallas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we have a lot of centers who may not serve low-income children, not because they don't want to, because they're not in the area that they may get that clientele, And at the end of the day, they care for children too, right? And everyone knows that early childhood education is the most important. So those children are important too, and they deserve those resources. It's not their fault that they may be in a higher income level area or a lower income level, area. All children should get the same treatment. And I feel like all providers, whether you take subsidy or not, nonprofit or not, should benefit from programs that are helping us be sustainable and moving forward.
Yes. An investment in you is an investment in young children and an investment in families, and it's the right thing to do.
Yes, because it's like everyone is saying, there is no economic recovery without childcare. So we all need to be have access to the assistance, the grant programs, all programs that are going to help us remain open and sustainable and run high quality programs. So I do have go ahead. What you say?
I was going to say, can I share what the Senate is up to in this?
Yes, please.
Tumultuous week. Okay, so 50 billion. Remember that number. Okay, 50 billion. It's our favorite number right now. The Senate said, how about 5 billion for CCDBG as we know it, and how about 10 billion for a stabilization fund that, in my view, is not quite as strong, in addition to not being the right amount of money, not quite as strong in the way they built it as the Child Care is Essential Act. So 5 plus 10 is not 50. Okay.
It's 50. No.
So it's not 50. They did the math differently than we do the math. We need 50.
Yeah,
so they put an idea out there. Their idea is 15. But that's the other reason why last night's bipartisan support is so important right now, because now we can turn to the Senate and say the House, in a bipartisan way, said 50. Let's get bigger than 15. We know we can do this. So that's where we are right now. And some of the urgency of right now, some of our viewers have probably received many requests to make a call. I'm going to make a request for you to call too. We'll get to that. But the reason this is so urgent is that the Senate plans to go on break starting August 10th. They will leave DC, and when they are apart and home in your states, they can't vote, and they won't be back until September 7th or 8th, which means oh no. So that's what the urgency is now. They put their $15 billion idea out there, but we've got this super groovy $50 billion idea, and that idea is better. And so we need to keep pressing on the Senate.
Yes, and especially because all our major agencies, advocacy agencies, and associations such as NAYC, NFACC, 0 to 3, Child Care Aware, they're all saying, oh, the National Black Child Development Institute, CDA Council, these are leading agencies for early care and education, and they are saying that we need $50 billion. So that's what we need. And I'm going to say it too. We need $50 billion, 15. They can keep that, but add some to it and give us our $50 billion that we need, because other industries who have gotten bailouts, you know, like the airlines, GM, all that stuff. Guess what? Guess who works there? Parents. And parents need childcare. Right. And so those industries are getting bailouts or receive bailouts at some point in time. I don't know. And it's for them to stay open and for them to work. But however, for them to have employees, they need childcare. They need early care and education centers. Right. And that is us. So that is why we need $50 billion to make sure that we are open for all these industries that are, you know, that makes America what it is today, you know? So we need that.
Yes.
I just want to add that in there. Yes. So you've been saying bipartisan. So what exactly does bipartisan mean for the listeners who are tuning in who do not know what bipartisan means? That is a very important word. And can you tell us why?
Yes. So it means that, so bi means two. And we have a two-party system of government and politics in this country. And so if something is done in a bipartisan way, two-party way, it means that it has the support of both Democrats and Republicans. And that can be very powerful. Right now, the House of Representatives, the leaders of the House of Representatives are from the Democratic Party. The Democrats lead the House of Representatives because there are more of them in the House of Representatives. There are more Democrats than Republicans in the House. But the reverse is true in the Senate. In the Senate, there are more Republicans than Democrats. And so Republicans are in charge of committees, in charge of the calendar, in charge of what happens when in the Senate. So to be able to say, no, it's both of us in the House, come join us. That's
very powerful. That's very powerful, because I like to say when I'm speaking or talking about bipartisan, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, whether you're Democratic, Republican, independent, liberal, whatever you want to call yourself, it does not matter. You need early care and education. Your child needs to attend preschool, they need that foundation that we provide, regardless of the party. Your children are not thinking about what party my parent is in, they're thinking about, hey, I want to go to school, I want to go to childcare, and I want to learn, I want to get that foundation. And that's what parents are thinking. So that's why I just wanted you to explain what bipartisan is. So it does not matter what side of the aisle you're on. Childcare is an issue for everyone.
Right. Like you were saying, children need this and families need this. And our early childhood educators in family childcare and in centers need this. Members of Congress need voters, and voters want this. When we're done, I will post a link to some poll findings from the First 5 Years Fund. Voters want this.
Yes.
This is not about the party and the politics. Voters want this. Voters need this. It's time.
Yes, and it is very important. So I get a lot of questions about advocacy. How did I start to be an advocate? How can I be an advocate? What do I need to do? So I like to say advocacy starts at home. First of all,
Absolutely.
it starts at home. It starts in your actual childcare center, and then it starts in your city, and then it goes to your state, or in Texas. We have counties, over 200 and something counties. So it starts there. It starts getting to know your local representatives, your mayor, your city councilman, your state representative. I have a great state representative. I want to shout him out. State Representative Chris Turner. Oh my God, he is the bomb.com. He is very supportive. His whole office answers questions, because I will call and ask a question. They answer questions, and they not only do they just answer questions, they're also in the community. He is in our community, and he's attainable. We can walk up to him and say, "Hey, Representative Turner, what about this, that, and that?" Or, "Hey, could you come to my event? Can you speak at my event?" If he can't, he will send something. But that was only because I built relationships here at the local level. So that's what I want to tell all the practitioners and early childhood educators who are listening. It starts at the local level, and you build from there.
Yes.
So
that's great. And I want to pick up on one of the things you said. This is about having a relationship. This is about them having the chance to really understand you and understand childcare and understand what families need in our communities. May I couple that, though, with the urgency of, even if you don't have a relationship with your U.S. Senator, please call like now. Please call, even if you've already called, please call again. If you've already called,
I will. I call every day.
Yes. Your US Senator,
I'm not playing. I call every day, because I really believe in this. I work with tons and hundreds of practitioners in my area, and I advocate for them, and I teach them how to advocate for themselves. And I really believe in this bill. We need this money ASAP. We don't need them to wait for a recess or anything. So I make sure that my voice is heard, and I make sure that the providers in my network, their voices are heard. So that is so important. And no, I don't have a physical relationship with my senator, but I know their number. I sure do. And their email address. I know that.
So every state has 2 U.S. senators, and this is the right time for all of our friends to be calling them, even if you've already called. If you've already called, you can send an email. If you've already done that too, my challenge to you is find 2 people who haven't yet and ask them to make the call, and then ask them to find 2 more people to make that call on Friday, to make that call on Monday. That is my challenge to our friends who are listening tonight. Call and ask two other people to do it too. We need to make those phones ring. You might get a voicemail, and then you can leave a message, or you might get a super friendly, polite staff person answering the phone. It's so simple. That person will be polite to you, and you will say your name and where you're calling from, and you will say, "It's time for $50 billion, and I need you to vote on it before August recess." That's what I need you to say.
Yes.
My name is Mary Beth. I'm calling from Virginia. I need you to vote on $50 billion for childcare before the August recess. That's what we're all going to say. And the person is going to say anything else. And gosh, if you want to say more things about your experience, go for it. If you want to be done at that point, you can say, "No, thank you so much for your time," and be done. Right? If you like
and
talking,
there is also a script that we have as well. We will share in the comment section the script of what you can say, what you can do in your prospective states, in your prospective city, on how to advocate for this very important bill. This is so important. This is our time now. We have the spotlight. 2 bills not passed all the way, but 2 bills were up in the House last night, and they voted on it. They voted yes on it. So now we need the other half, and the other half is the Senate. And so I think that we have a really great chance to pass this. And I'm thinking about all the different just years that we have gone by, and all the different campaigns that we have, hey, this is what we need. We may have got fractions of what we asked for. But this particular time in the House last night, they said $50 billion. And I think that is like phenomenal. They said it. You know, we had senators from all across the United States saying, or congressmen all across the United States saying how important this is, really getting on the floor and telling the stories of their constituents in their city. And let me say this, they're telling the stories of their constituents. So what I want to say is your voice is very important, because then your congressman, your senator, your mayor, whoever can go and tell your story. What I have learned in one of my advocacy classes that I have taken is that they go on stories. They like to hear stories, real life practical stories from real life practitioners like ourselves. So tell your story. Tell what's going on in your child care facility. Tell what's going on in your city when it comes to child care, early care, and education. Tell them, right? Tell them how you went through COVID. Tell them how you had to close your doors. Tell them how you had to stay open, and tell them how you had to go down to 10 children. Tell them how we're struggling. And I just want to make this clear. We have been in a crisis before COVID, right? So this is long overdue. Women in the field, and men of the field of early care and education, we have been underpaid, overlooked, not respected, right? But no more, we're not doing that anymore. No. Our voices are going to be heard, and we are going to get the funds and dollars that we deserve, because everyone knows that childcare is essential. And there's no economic recovery without us.
Yes. They see you now. It's different now. And I'm sorry it took so long. And I'm sorry it took a crisis. But boy, they see you now.
Yes. I'm using something totally new, StemYard. So I can't see all the comments, but I can see some of them. So Krista Thornton said, can you say it again? What is that we need to say? So just like that small script, like what if she wants to call her state representative? What state are you in, Krista, again? So what does she need to say?
You're going to pick up the phone and you're going to say, hi, I'm Krista are you from Texas? Are you from Ohio?
She's from another state, but yes. Okay. And she's very active in the early care and community.
My name is Krista. And I need my senator to vote on $50 billion for childcare before the August recess. Mm-hmm. And I need you to make 2 calls because you have 2 senators. Even if you think your senator already supports this, you can say, thank you. The urgency is voting on it right away.
Yes. So in Texas, I know our senators is Ted Cruz and Ron Cornyn or something like that. So call their offices. I will put that information in the chat box as well after this call. So that is very important. That's very, very important. And also have your staff call too. That could be an assignment for your staff, because the $50 billion will also benefit them as well.
Yes. They'll notice a volume of calls. It takes multiple calls. They're keeping track.
Yes.
You call and ask 2 other people who care about you or care about this to call to.
Okay. And so moving forward, like I said, I have been getting a lot of requests. Oh, I do. Before I say that,
sure.
When is the next time do they vote? So how does that work? Do they come up with a date that they say, hey, we're going to hold a session and we're going to vote on this day? Or is it planned? Is it scheduled? How do we know that?
Yes and no. Yes and no. So they will decide when they decide. But as of tonight, we don't know yet. And so we're not going to call and say, vote on this day. We're going to say, vote on this thing, 50 billion. And it's got to be before you go on August recess. But then as soon as if a vote were to be scheduled, we're not going to keep that a secret. The advocates and our national level friends are going to make sure we all know.
Right.
And so then we have a deadline. But let's not wait to find out a new deadline. Let's call now. Let's call now. that the staff are reporting, the congressional staff are reporting, wow, I got a lot of calls about childcare today. Maybe I should tune in.
Yeah. So as Mary Beth said earlier, she has challenged us to call ourselves and also to pick two colleagues to call. And if they don't know about it, tell them about it. Show them this video and like, hey, this is what it's all about. This is all we have to do is call. And then I guess once the stuff comes out, we'll have even more information about like more details. But right now we just need the funds. And thank you for explaining that the funds will be for all childcare sectors, you know, and hopefully your prospective states filter it out how they're supposed to. So that's where your voice is so important, because when the funds do get dispersed to your states and goes to your childcare block grant funding, your voice is important. So we have the Texas Workforce Commission that gets funding for childcare, and so they have meetings, they have public meetings, and so look those up. Look those up in your state. Whoever is housing that money, look up when they have these public comments, right? When childcare licensing has public comments, when whoever who's running whatever has a public comment. When you get an email saying, hey, it's open for public comment, don't just scroll by that email, because I mean, I had done that before too. I'm just being honest.
We can help, right? May I also say, the details matter in family childcare and in centers. I would never tell you that the details don't matter. The details absolutely matter about how the money is going to flow and how it can be used. It absolutely matters to you, because our policy ideas aren't just ideas to you, they're your life. May I also say, while yes, the details matter, if we don't get a significant investment, none of the details matter. So we need to focus on the biggest number the Senate can come up with, so that when the Senate and the House come together to work out their differences, they're both playing with the best possible numbers. So we're going to keep our advocacy focused on that idea of the big number, and then together we can do details. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And I thank you for explaining that, because like I said, I have people ask me questions. I don't know all the answers, but I try to reach out to advocates who, like yourself and other advocates from across the state, to help. Hey, let's get this together, because this is a spot that needs to be talked about a little bit more. You may get an email saying, hey, we need $50 billion, but what does that mean? How do I contribute to that? And I just want to say this also, because for the women that are in childcare, especially women of color who make up 40% of the childcare industry, right, who are running phenomenal centers all across the state, often our voices are heard, often our voices are left out on the table. So part of my advocacy efforts is to make sure that women of color, all colors, right, are heard, who are seen and are heard. And one of my jobs is also to teach other women also how to use their voice and how to advocate for themselves. And so I have a platform to use that. And then also I have resources that I can tap into that maybe the average everyday provider cannot, but it's my job as an advocate, and also, as most importantly, as a woman of color, to bring those resources to my people, to make sure that they have these resources and that they can advocate for themselves. So
and
that's
it's my job
part of my why, the economic development of women in the field of early care and education.
Yes.
So we need that money, $50 billion.
Let's go get it.
Yes. So also, I just want to say thank you to everyone who is commenting in the field. And I'm going to figure out how to see all these comments when I'm using this new technology, but I promise we'll go back and we'll comment, and we'll put information in the comment section. And for all my childhood leaders who are on here, who are running Facebook groups, thank you so much for letting me post this information in your group to share with other providers, because that's what it's all about. It's about community and sharing information to make sure that we get and receive the best resources that we can to care adequately for the children and families that we care for every single day. So you'll be seeing more of me, Mary Beth, and all our other friends who are advocates and early childhood leaders on our on the Jaleesa McDonald Show, talking about how to do this. And moving forward, I've been working on a class, a workshop on how to advocate for yourself. But I just had to get on here today to say, hey, this is what's going on, because providers need to know all across the state. Especially they need to know the fine details, because sometimes it can go over our head, or we don't have access to it, you know, or we don't know, you hear about it, or you just don't know what it is. So my job, one of my jobs, is to make sure that practitioners know exactly what it is that's going on in legislative areas and advocacy areas. So would you like to say something else?
Just thank you so much. Make your calls, please. Call the Senate. But may I also say, every question that a family child care provider asks and every story that a family child care provider tells makes us better advocates here in Washington and in the States. I'm not a family child care provider. I don't work in a child care program. I'm an advocate, but I'm only as good as you guys telling me what's going on. Every question you ask and every story you tell helps move things forward. So please keep them keep them coming.
So from some of the comments I can see, Andrea Dickerson, she says, please leave this up for replay. I certainly will, Andrea. And thank you all for what you do in the field of early care and education. Thank you, Krista. We answered your question. That was a question about what we need to say, what we need to do. Jacqueline says before the August recess. So I think she was probably meaning that, hey, do we need to call before the August recess?
Yes,
that's not what you meant. Put it back in there because I can see it. Samantha is saying, this is so great. Thank you both for explaining all this to us. Liz is saying, is this being recorded? Yes, Liz, it's being recorded, and I'm going to keep it up on my page. You guys can replay, and shouts out to everybody who's watching the replay. Push replay in the comment section. And also, so moving forward, like I said, I came on early because I just could not pass up this topic, this hot childcare topic. But the Jaleesa McDonald Show Season 2 will air next month, August 10th. Our new time is from 6 to 7 p.m. until also to say, like we were talking about earlier, the relationships. State Representative Chris Turner will be on that. I'm interviewing him on my first show back. And so hopefully all this has passed so we can talk about, like, yeah, thank you guys for passing this bill. So we will see. And also, if you would like to be a guest on the Jaleesa McDonald Show, please contact me at childcaremedia, the number 1, at gmail.com. Childcaremedia, the number 1, at gmail.com. Our website will be up and more information really soon on how to contact us. And if you would like to be a sponsor for the Jaleesa McDonald Show, or advertise your childcare business, or even make a commercial, promote your event, promote your virtual learning institute, whatever you're doing in your childcare field, please contact us and we will post your information and send you the information on how you can become a sponsor, create your commercial, and just, you know, that's what we're here for, to like I said, to provide a space for early childhood educators to shine and share resources. So that is pretty much it. Look out for our Advocacy 101 workshop really soon. And feel free to contact me anytime, and Mary Beth Tessa, for any of your advocacy needs, or if you have a question. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Jaleesa McDonald Show, where we provide a platform for early childhood educators to shine. I'm Jaleesa McDonald, and it is my beautiful co-host today, Mary Beth Tessa. Thank you guys, and we will certainly leave this up and answer your questions in the comment section. Have a blessed and productive day. Bye.